All right, well, I guess we will get started. So welcome for those who are joining us here. I'm Chef Jessica, one of the tutors here at Escapier. We got Chef Greg assisting. He'll be throwing some chat help, so feel free to throw answers in the chat, questions in the chat. When there's not many of us, I honestly don't mind if you guys stop me if you have questions or if anything I'm saying doesn't make sense. That is the whole point of this, is to make sure you guys know what we're doing, know what you're doing for your tests, your knowledge checks, material. Costing so far is probably hopefully pretty good. It does get a little bit more in depth, a little bit more complicated, so it is good to get some help understanding the whole entire thing just from the get-go, because this is definitely one of our trickier classes here at Escapier. Not gonna lie on that one. But anyway, glad you guys can all join us. I'm gonna get, let's see, my screen up, and then I'm gonna share it with you wherever that button is. There it is. Bam. All right, so covering just some basic math stuff first, making sure you understand what you're doing numbers-wise before we kind of get into the bulk of the equations and what's going on. So we have rounding, your basic rounding rules. When you're looking at rounding, you're always looking at whatever digit, whatever number you're looking for. So a lot of this class will be to the nearest cent. The nearest cent is your 100th place. So anytime you're rounding, you're looking at that number and you're looking at the number next to it to the right. That number to the right determines what you do to that number to the left. 0 through 4 stays the same, does not change. I like to think of those as nice numbers. They're so nice. They let the neighbor stay who they are. 5 and above, or 5 through 9, makes their neighbor move and go up. So those are mean or bossy numbers. If you have problem forgetting that, I love that trick because it's easier to remember that. The 5 through 9 are so mean, they make their neighbor change who they are. One thing, and I do just want to kind of give you guys some pointers too, just starting off. This class you guys are in, this costing class specifically, and any culinary math, read the question. You're going to hear me say that, I bet, more than 500 times in the next few weeks. I feel like I say that constantly. Read the question. A lot of the question will tell you what it's looking for, what information you need, what you need to do to those numbers a lot of the time. So my point in telling you this right now is a lot of your questions will say round to the nearest cent, or round to the nearest whole dollar, round to the nearest whole percent. Always make sure you're reading that carefully and answering it in the right context. Because if you're not answering to the nearest cent and you're giving whole dollar, you're going to get the answer wrong right from the get-go, even if you're doing the math right, which is like the most frustrating part. So just make sure you're reading it correctly, answering the question in the format that they're asking for, because that is like the silliest error. But anyway, rounding, how are we doing on that? Good on rounding? Yes, cool. Okay, moving on. When you're rounding portion serving sizes, you don't round. This is the only time you're not rounding. Everything to the right of that decimal falls off. You cannot serve a partial portion or a partial serving. So if you have 5.9 cheeseburgers after doing your how many portions do we have, how many servings do we have, you only have 5, because you can't serve somebody a part of a cheeseburger or part of a pasta dish or whatever you're talking about. I also like to think of that as the chef's food. So whenever you see that point, whatever, think of like, oh, that's what I get to eat for myself. We can't actually count that. They're going to tell you not to, but you're going to end up doing it. I promise you that. You'll get hungry. Anyway, moving on. Conversions, common kitchen conversions. I know you guys have kind of had some experience in some of your beginning classes with this. Have a cheat sheet. I cannot stress this enough. Have these written down in front of you or on a document, in a notebook, whatever. You're going to use these all the time. If you don't know these, that's okay. Just have them next to you, because if you mess up one of these conversions when you're doing some of this, your answer is going to be wrong right from there. So always make sure you have these with you. I really like kind of making a long line of them, like, I don't know, 1 pound equals 16 ounces, which is 1 pint, which is 2 cups, like all the equivalents. So you know what the same thing is for all of them. That is really helpful, especially in this costing class, because it's a lot of numbers and it's a lot of conversions that you're going to be doing. How are we feeling with that? That's kind of just my like rundown of math before we get into the bulk of stuff. Everyone good there? If not, stop me. I'd love to explain further. And actually, while I'm waiting for someone to interrupt me, I'm going to jump over ship. So this is the tutor page. If you guys have not seen it, you can get to it from your class page under the Start Here section. You can book a session with us if you need extra help with costing or anything else, any time ever. Anyway, this is the bulk of it. Workshops, costing one on Friday afternoon and Tuesday evening as well as right now. These are the links to join. The main reason I wanted to jump over here, re-record them. I think I said that, but this is where you'll find those recordings, is in here. These Quizlets, this is the main point of me jumping over here. If you click on these Quizlets, it'll bring you to our class Quizlet page. I don't know why that's such a tongue twister for me. It is. Anyway, all the stuff I just kind of covered, your basic math principles. We have flashcards on those. And I've made some as well for your costing, like portion sizing, price proportions, percents, kind of where you're at now. Week 5, I did that, know how to get creative. So that's just your week 5 stuff. There's not a label on that one. I should probably just label the weeks. But anyway, these are here at your disposal to use in your own time. Great resource. Highly recommend doing some of these if you want extra practice. But just wanted to jump over there. I guess no questions. I'm going to keep going then.
Can I say something real fast?
Oh, of course. What's up?
I just wanted to make sure anyone who might have some questions, does everyone know how to use the raise your hand function on Zoom? Where you can, on the reactions, throw a hand up, and that comes directly to Jessica and I. So if you have any questions, if you don't feel like talking and want us
Crystal's got it.
Yeah, just toss your hand up.
Yeah. Feel free to interrupt me too, though. Like when there's only this many of us here, I don't mind. Throughout the answers, I'm going to ask you some math questions. And actually, that's a great point too. Throw them in the chat as well. If you don't feel like unmuting yourself and talking, I get it. I was definitely, at one point I was shy. I can't say I am anymore. But definitely throw them in there, throw them out. Gosh, I totally just blanked on my other point I wanted to tell you. Oh, yeah. Have your calculator out. Grab it from your phone, throw it on your laptop. If you have a real one, whatever. Have your calculator out because we're going to be doing some like working through the equations, showing you how to do those problems. I'm going to show you and demonstrate at least at the beginning somewhat, but I do want to make sure that you are doing them with me. Muscle memory really is a real thing, and it will help you doing them on your own. So kind of going into it, some of your starting formulas, how many servings portion sizes can you make? And I do want to just note here as well, you're going to hear me say this like a broken record. Read the question. I know that sounds really simple and easy and like, well, chef, how would I answer the question if I didn't read it? I'm telling you, read it again, read it 4 times, read it 8 times, read it until you understand it. Because a lot of these questions in this costing class, you really can understand what you're needing to do if you just think about the question. Like even if you forget the formulas, the equations all together, you can more than likely figure out what is this question asking of me with this information that it's giving. And a lot of this math we're doing, just to give you a brief rundown through this whole class, it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Those 4 things. Which 4 you do, when you do them, is kind of the challenge. I understand that. I'm a dyslexic math person myself, and I flip-flop things all the time. Like I divide by the wrong number. I'll multiply when I should divide. But let me tell you, this class, it'll be very obvious if you're doing it wrong. So a lot of times if you're like me and you flip-flop which way you're supposed to do it, your answer's not going to make sense with the question being asked at all. So just make sure you're really reading that question really closely, really carefully. I cannot stress that enough. Some of these questions on some of your tests going forward won't even be math. It'll seem like you're supposed to do math, but you don't. That's like my number one pointer is read the question, understand it fully, and then do the math and understand what you need to do. Again, on the other side of that, always look at your answer and think, does this answer even make sense with my question? Because if it doesn't, and you're like me and you're flip-flopping numbers, your number's going to be so out of whack 95% of the time, it's going to be obvious you did something wrong. You still don't know what's right, but at least you know what's wrong and you know not to answer that. But anyway, those are just random pointers through the whole thing. So kind of diving in, how many portions servings can you make? This is basically asking you, we have this much in our pantry, this much starting off. We know we have this much in our serving and our portion size. How many portions can we make with that amount that we have? It's kind of what this is asking us. So in these type of problems, you're going to be given how much you have. So looking at our first example, we have 192 ounces of cheese. That's how much cheese you got in your walk-in cooler and your refrigerator. Each portion uses 12 ounces. So basically the question's asking you, how many 12-ounce portions can you make with 192 ounces? So you would take that 192 and you would divide it by 12. And you get 16 portions, 16 12-ounce portions. Something to note here is you always have to be in the same unit of measure for not just this problem, but your whole class really. So if you have pounds and ounces, you're going to have to get to ounces. If you have gallons and cups, you're going to have to get to cups. If you have quarts and cups, you go to cups. Cups to tablespoons, you go to tablespoons. You almost always will go to the smaller unit, whatever that is. That's the unit you want to go to. The reason behind it is the math is just much easier, much simpler, less room for error, less decimals. You can do it the other way, but the math just gets a little bit more funky and it's a lot easier to screw up. So usually you're always going to the smaller unit. So like looking at our steak example, that's next. If I have 36 pounds of steak, each portion uses 4 ounces. How many servings portions can we make? So your first step is this 36 pounds, you would need to convert to ounces. So this is where those kitchen conversions come in that you're going to want next to you. You're going to want to know what's going on there. So you would take that 36 pounds of steak and you would multiply it by 16 because we know there's 16 ounces in a pound. And we get 576 ounces. Same thing as 36 pounds. And then you would do your problem and divide it by your portion size, which in this case is 4 ounces. So you divide it by 4. And that gets us 144 portions or 144 4-ounce steaks out of the 36 we have. How's everyone feeling with this principle?
Great for me.
Doing good?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Love the feedback. Hoping everyone's catching on. So roles reversed, basically. Same kind of question, just asking, well, I guess something else is how much do you need or how much would you need to order is kind of what this is asking it. You know you need to make this many servings. You know each portion has this much of it. How much do you need to order to fulfill how many servings you want to make? This, again, is kind of when you're doing inventory and trying to figure out how much you need to order for whatever you're doing, whether it's catering or Friday night or whatever. This is kind of how you figure it out. So in this case, you just multiply it. Whatever your total servings are times your portion size is how much you need to order. Again, something to note, you won't see this here, but you might on your tests. always make sure you're answering it in the right unit. So if like this is in ounces, but it might say how many pounds of tomatoes do I need to order? So you're going to always have to just be making sure you're answering the question in the right unit or the right unit of measure or the right, cents or percents, or just always make sure you're answering it in that appropriate spot. So this example, if we have 12 salads, each portion is 4 ounces. How much tomatoes would we need? You just do 12 times 4. And you get 48. Something also to note, and the more in depth we go in this class, the more I struggle with it, so I'm sure you will. I call it fat fingering, where you're putting the wrong number in the calculator by accident. Always be on the lookout for that because it's so easy to accidentally do, and you're going to get the wrong answer if you're doing that. So I like to tell everyone, just do the problem twice. Like if you know the math, just do it twice in your calculator. If your answer is different, you should probably do it more than a few times. But if you get the same answer, at least you know you're not accidentally hitting the wrong key on that keypad. For me, it's really easy to do it on the computer wrong, my phone sometimes. So just be on the lookout. Some of these are easier or only like one problem at a time. As we get farther along, you will have a lot more complicated room for error there. So just kind of piece of advice, never hurts to double check your math in any way. Looking at this example, if we have 1 batch of soup that uses 6 cups of stock, how much do I need to make a quadruple batch? Quadruple means 4, for those who do not know that. If you don't know that and that was on your test, honestly, like Google what quadruple is my advice to you there. So you just do 6 times 4, and that gets you 24 cups. How are we with that stuff? Good?
Good.
Awesome. Cool. So moving on a little bit, this is where some people start to have some problems with. So if that's you, don't worry. It's normal. We'll get you there. It's easier said. You'll be good. Anyway, so this is how much does 1 portion serving cost? How much is 1 serving cost? Something to note, again, you always have to be in that unit of measure. So when reading this problem, we buy a 25-pound case of tomatoes for $32. Each portion uses 6 ounces. How much does each portion cost? Again, always thinking, what is this question asking me? This is basically asking us if each portion is 6 ounces and we spent $32 for 25 pounds, how much is that 6-ounce portion? So your first step whenever you're seeing these problems is you want to get your price per unit for whatever your portion is. So in this case, we want to find out how much we pay for 1 ounce to figure out how many we pay for 6 ounces. So depending on the problem and depending on the steps involved and where you're at, you might have to do it twice. This one's a 2-1. So this 25-pound case, you would want to figure out how much you paid for 1 pound first. So you have $32 is how much you spent for 25 pounds. So you divide that by 25. This gets us $1.28. That's our price per pound, essentially. Now you divide this by 16, because we have 16 ounces in a pound. And that gets us 8 cents. So essentially we spent 8 cents for 1 ounce of tomatoes. Now that you have your price per ounce, you can multiply it by 6 because we have 6 ounces. And when we do that, we get 48 cents. So it basically costs us 48 cents for those 6 ounces of tomatoes. One huge thing to note here, this example did not show it very well at all. Do not round early at all. So if you have like 1.7869753 in your calculator, after you do something like this, keep that in your calculator. Do not round and continue doing your math until the very end. If you round early, your answer can be off by a couple cents. One, it'll be wrong on your test. Two, if you do that, and like think about it in the real world in context to a kitchen. Let's say you're pricing out your menu and you're pricing out a chicken dinner and you're 5 cents off because of a rounding error or you rounded too soon and you charge 5 cents less and you serve that 100 times every day of the year, that's going to add up to like thousands of dollars you're losing over the course of a year because you rounded early, which is this silly, very silly. So don't round early. I'll show you a good example of that when we come to one. And we will definitely do a few more of these, so don't worry about that. Stanford, you had a question or did I answer it?
That for 0.48, what if in an exam, if I put 48, would that be incorrect?
Yeah, you would want to put 0.48.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, because this is asking costs, like how much that portion costs. So 48 cents or $48, there's a big difference.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Definitely. So let's try this one. Granted, the stuff in purple basically says what I just told you. But let's say we buy steak at $15 a pound. Serving is 6 ounces. How much does that 6-ounce serving cost? So this one, you only have to do it once. You basically want to figure out, again, your price per ounce. So you take that $15 steak, that's 16 ounces, and we would divide it by 16. And this gets us our price per ounce. We have 0.9375. Curious what would happen. Okay, so then now we would multiply it by 6 because we have 6 ounces. This is 1 ounce. We want to see what 6 is. So you multiply it by 6 and we get 5.625. This is where you would round. 5 is a mean number, so that moves to a 3. So it'd be 563. I'm curious. So I want to I don't know how this is going to work out, so bear with me. If we rounded early, so in here, let's say we rounded this to 94 cents. And then we did our math. It's a different answer. It's 1 cent more because of rounding. That one's not as bad, but it is still different though. So you would get the answer wrong on your test because you rounded too soon. So don't do that. I just kind of wanted to show you that error. How are we feeling with this? Does anyone have any questions about it?
Good right now.
Good? Awesome. So let's see. I'm gonna do, okay. We're gonna jump ship on you. We're gonna do some kind of first week. Actually, let's do second week. That's not the one. I swear I was organized till I wasn't. So let's do some practice problems together. Feel free to throw your answer in the chat, say it out loud, grab your calculator. But we're going to kind of work on some because we have time and you guys aren't answering questions. So this is what we'll do now. And I don't want to do the Quizlets because I want to save those for you. But I do want to show you, if you jump in the Quizlet, costing. Bam. Yep, this is exactly what we're kind of covering. So those I will leave for you to do in your own time if you want extra practice. But let's do number 1. You buy egg noodles at $3.47 a pound. 1 portion of chicken noodle soup requires 2 ounces of egg noodles. How much do the noodles for 1 portion cost? Round to the nearest cent. Does anyone want to walk me through how you might find that answer? Because I can walk you through it, but we already know I know how to do it.
Find the ounces. So that will be 16 ounces for 1 pound.
Right. Yeah.
You need 2 ounces. So that will be 16 divided by 2.
What would you do what with?
So if it is 16 ounces, so it is 16 divided by 3.47.
So this is a great example, and I love this. So if we did 16 divided by 3.47, we get $4.61. Is that our price per ounce? Would that make sense if it was our price per ounce?
I could not.
No, that's great. That's why I'm like, that's why I did it. Because it doesn't make sense. You just flip-flopped them. You pulled a me. That's stuff I do. So you were on the right track though, Stanford. So you would take your 347 divided by 16. You just did it the other way.
Okay.
And that gets us 0.216875. And that would be our price per ounce. So again, that's just one really easy way though to double check yourself. If you did exactly what you just told me, you would get, what was it, 4.9, something like that, which doesn't make sense for your price per ounce, which is what we were looking for. So you just know right there, if you do that like on your test or while you're doing this yourself, that's like start over, maybe you flip-flopped them, try it again. So once you get your price per ounce, what do we do?
Multiply by 2.
What'd you say?
Multiply by 2.
Multiply by 2? Yeah, that's exactly right. Because we got 2 ounces and we're looking for our 2-ounce portion. And this is when you'd round. So the answer would be 43 cents. Is that what everyone else came up with? Do we have any questions here? I'm going to kind of keep doing some more. All right, let's try this one. Number 2, and I totally need to go back and change these because it's driving me nuts. They're all egg noodles. No one needs that many egg noodles. So you buy egg noodles for $3.15 a pound. 1 portion of chicken noodle soup requires 5 ounces of egg noodles. How much do the noodles for 1 portion cost? Anyone else want to take a stab at it? One of the crystals? Nobody? Silence? I mean, I guess I can show you this one if you really want me to.
Okay, so would
Yeah.
I multiply? No, I mean 315 divided by 16.
Yep, that's exactly it.
And so you come up with 0.19687.
Right.
And then would I multiply that by the 5?
That's exactly right. Nice job. Yeah, I'm like, I'll clap for you. That was good. That's exactly what you do, though. I'm glad. I hope everyone else heard that. She walked me through it. So yeah, our answer would be 98 cents.
So it's 98. Okay.
Nice job, Crystal. Thanks for jumping in.
No problem.
Let's see. Let's kind of jump down. Are they all egg noodles? They can't all be egg noodles. Oh, there's some stock. All right, let's do number 8. So you store brown stock in 1-gallon batches. No one read that, right? I should have deleted some of the stuff in here before. Besides the point. So you buy stock in 1-gallon batches. 1 serving of braised rib requires 1.5 pints of brown stock. How many servings of ribs can be made with 1 batch?
Find pints in the gallon.
What was that, Stanford?
Say find the pints in the gallon.
Right, that's exactly it. So you know there's 8 pints in 1 gallon, because that's just one of our common kitchen conversions we know. And if you don't know, now you know. Something to note with this, again, I'm going to say it, have that cheat sheet. If you don't have a cheat sheet, Google is your best friend. Seriously, like, don't be afraid to Google things. I Google things all the time. I know that sounds silly, but literally if you forget this or you don't have that cheat sheet in front of you, you can just look up like how many pints are in a gallon.
Sometimes
Google will tell you.
Google is not right though.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you would take your 8 pints and you would divide it by your 1.5 pints. That's how many is in our serving. And that gives us 5.3333333333. And we know we can't do a partial serving. We can't serve them that 0.333. So we would have 5 servings. Everyone with me on that one? I know I kind of jumped on you from the pricing to this, but that's kind of how your tests are somewhat. They like make you do one thing and then jump to another. And honestly, half the battle is knowing which equation to use when. So it's kind of why I like to throw you off. I'm sorry, but not that sorry. Let's try this one, number 11. So you store brown stock in 2-gallon batches. 1 serving of braised rib requires 1.8 cups of brown stock. How many servings of ribs can be made with 1 batch?
Cups. We have 2 gallons.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You would want to figure out how many cups you have in your 2 gallons.
Divide by 1.8.
So how many cups are in 1 gallon? There's 16 cups in 1 gallon.
So
Again, that's one of our
32.
common ones. So you'd take your 16 times 2.
32.
It says our 32. So we basically 2 gallons is also 32 cups. It's kind of what we just figured out there. Then you would divide your 1.8 cups. And we get 17.777777. I see, Crystal, you got it in the chat. Nice. And again, we don't ever include the partial servings, partial portions, anything like that. So those just fall off and the answer would be 17. Nice job. Let's see. Let's try, oh, the rice ones. Those are always good. Back to that price. So let's try number 15 here. You buy rice at 81 cents a pound. 1 batch of fried rice requires 8 ounces of rice. How much does the rice for 1 batch cost? So
Where, what is it you're reading? Which one of them you're doing? Question 16? Oh,
15.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So your first step, we have our 81 cents per pound. Your first step would be to figure out your price per ounce. So your 0.81 divided by 16 gets us 0.050625. It's our price for 1 ounce.
Multiply that by 8.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We times that by 8 and we get 405 rounded up. So it'd be 41. And I know there's someone out there who's like, well, chef, can't you just take your 81 cents and divide it by half because you have 8 ounces? You sure can. But just note if you're that person, because I'm that person, it doesn't work for everything. Equation, you still have to know how to find your answer. It only works because 8 is like exactly half of your pound. So when you have pounds and you have 3 ounces or 12 ounces, you're not going to be able to just do the math like that. So it's really good to understand how to get it to your price per ounce or your price per your unit of measure, and then do your math, multiply it by whatever your portion is, because that will throw you off at some point, I promise you. Let's try 16. So if you buy rice at 98 cents a pound, One batch of fried rice requires 3 pounds of rice. How much does the rice for one batch cost? And how might you find it? Does anyone want to tackle this one? It's a little different.
It's
Yes.
$2.94.
That's not a shirt one. Something else.
What'd you say?
$2.94.
That sounds right. Did you do 98 cents times 3?
That's 3. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And for those who don't know, she times it by 3 because our price was per pound and we had 3 pounds. So you didn't have to convert it down to any unit of measure. We were in the exact same unit. So you could just multiply. It's a lot easier. Definitely. How are we doing with this? Does anyone have any questions about some of this stuff? Seems like you're all getting the hang of it, but I also know sometimes people suffer in silence. So if you're suffering in silence, please don't. Please just say like, hey, I need help, or like raise your hand or throw something in the chat. Even if you don't want to jump in right now, please message me or Chef Greg. We want to make sure you understand this. And that is literally why we both have jobs. So try to ask for help if you need to. We are here to help. But if everyone's good, we can kind of do some more problems and just kind of keep going for a little bit. We have some more time still, which is great. Let's try number 18 here. So we got tomatoes for words. You buy tomatoes in 45-pound shipments. One batch of Cobb salad requires 1.2 pounds of tomatoes. That's a big salad. How many portions can be made with one shipment? I can't even imagine that many tomatoes on a salad. It's a good question, though. And how might you figure this one out? Anyone want to help me with this? iPad? You don't have it named, so I feel like I can call you out. Becky or Matthew?
45 divided by 1.2.
Stanford, you said 45 divided by 1.2?
Yeah.
Definitely. Let's see what we come up with. 45 pounds. We're in pounds and pounds. Whoa, see? That's the fat finger. Too many twos. Happened so fast. So we'd have 37.5. We know we can't have a partial portion, so it'd be 37. That's exactly right. Nice job, Stanford. Let's see. These are all the same question. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's do 24. That'll hopefully trick somebody. I don't know why I like tricking you, because then I get to explain the answer. That might be why. Then you're learning. If you get them all right all the time, you didn't learn anything. So 24. You buy salt at $5.36 per quart. One portion of polenta requires 4 tablespoons of salt. How much does the salt for one portion cost?
How much tablespoon is in a quart?
Right, that's exactly it. So you'd have to figure out how many tablespoons are in a quart first. So the way I would figure this out without just knowing the answer is one of your common conversions you should know or have written down is that we have what? 16 tablespoons in 1 cup?
Quart.
And then how many cups are in 1 quart?
4.
Right. So your 16 tablespoons in 1 cup, multiply that by your 4 cups that are in your 1 quart, and we get 64. So there's 64 tablespoons per quart. So now that we know that, what might you do next?
Divide that by 5.36.
Right. You take your $5.36 per quart, and whoa, see, look at that. No one even said anything. You're just gonna let me keep doing the math. 536, and we would divide that by 64 because we have 64 tablespoons in our quart. And we get 0.08375. And then you would multiply that by 4. And you would get 34 cents with rounding. Everyone following along so far?
Is that portion do it? Well, so portion, so it's, there's no, do we round off? No.
Yeah, you would. So when it's asking the cost, that's a great question though,
cost.
Stanford. Yeah, so when you're talking cost, you're talking cents, like cents and dollars. So you would always round to the nearest hundredth. When you're talking servings and portion sizes, that's when you don't round and everything to the right falls off. Everyone good with that? At least for the tiny meantime. Let's try another one that's very similar, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to make you do it. Let's do number 25. You buy salt at $3.36 per quart. One portion of polenta requires 6 tablespoons of salt. How much does the salt for one portion cost? Feel free to yell at me, say the answer, or put your answer in the chat, or walk me through what you might do.
Okay.
I need to get like a
100 quarts of tablespoon.
right, which we just did. We know there's how many tablespoons in 1 quart.
Okay.
Did you already forget?
Yeah.
At least you're honest. I like it. So again, if you forgot to figure that out, we would know there's 16 tablespoons in 1 cup, right? And there's 4 cups in 1 quart. So we would times 16 times 4 gets us 64. So there's 64 tablespoons per quart. So you're $3.36. See, I'm walking you through it. I'm so bad at this. I'm going to stop myself. I'm going to give you that. Now what?
No, you multiply by 6.
Anyone know what we might do with the $3.36?
Divided by 64.
Yeah, nice job. Was that Crystal?
Yes.
Nice job. Yeah, we would divide it by 64. And that gets us 0.0525, which
And
is
then,
our.
and then
Yeah.
multiply times the 6.
That's exactly it. Nice job. And then you'd multiply that by 6, because this is essentially our price for 1 tablespoon. And then we want to know our price for 6 tablespoons. And we get 0.315, or final answer would be 0.32 with rounding. 5's a mean number, makes the neighbor change. You think I'm joking. Next time you're out and about, you're gonna look at a 5 and be like, oh yeah, that's a mean one. Like, you're gonna tell yourself this from now on and you'll never forget again. I do it still. Maybe it's because I say it a lot too though. So, but nice job, Crystal. You got that one right. Let's try one more for good measure. That's a different one. Let's try 31. So you buy peppercorns in 2-pound bags. A brisket recipe requires 2.3 ounces of peppercorns per portion. How many portions can be made with 1 bag?
Divide by 2.2.
Close. So your first step with these is you always always, regardless of what you're doing in this class, have to be in the same unit before you can start doing the equation.
So
So
would
for,
you turn that 2 pounds into 32 ounces?
that's exactly it. Yeah,
It's
nice job.
By the 32 by the 2.3 ounces.
That's exactly it.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. That's what I said.
Is that what you said, Stanford?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I missed the first part. You're so quiet. But yes, sorry, I thought you said you just divided it. I'm like, no, you gotta chew it first. You gotta get it over to ounces.
Because I realized it's too pounds.
Yep. So you take your, well, for those who are missing a beat here, that's okay. You basically take your 2 pounds, you multiply it by 16, because we have 16 ounces in a pound, gets us 32. So our 2 pound bag is also 32 ounces. And then you would divide by your 2.3, because we have 2.3 ounces per recipe or per brisket. How many portions can be made? Answer would be 13. This 0.91 is not, even though it's close, it's not a whole serving. So you can't count it, unfortunately. No worries, everyone. You guys are good. If you were quiet today, that's a-okay. I just like to get you to speak. I know sometimes doing these problems out loud, whether it's with me or maybe on a one-on-one or in the workshop or whatever, it does really help. So, I mean, I definitely encourage you to visit that Quizlet page, do some on your own, practice your problems. Your class, you get 3 attempts. Use all 3 attempts. Unless you're getting 100%, then I guess you don't have to do it again. But there's no point in not doing it 3 times. So, but that is basically all I had for you guys tonight. I'm happy you could join me, and we'll be doing it again next week, covering just kind of next week's, week 3. And we, Chef, like I said, Chef Sissy has a few as well. She has one Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central and Friday at noon Central Time. But again, we record them all, and we hope you join us again. Does anyone have any last minute questions right now?
I'm fine. Thanks, Chef.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for helping out too, Crystal and Stanford and everyone
I
else.
got it.
Yeah, nice job. Both crystals we got. Awesome. I love it. I expect both of you back now.
Definitely.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And I
will have
guess,
to depend on the archive quite a bit though, because I have like a million things happening.
yes.
And I definitely cannot do the ones in the day. Maybe the Sunday one I might have a chance. Other than that,